we're color coded.
We're color coded.
Gotcha.
I'm all set.
Okay.
All right, I'm all set on my end,
Okay.
except Steve, I'm not sure if I can hear you.
Like
Your microphone is finicky.
is having all kinds of issues.
Don't touch it.
Well, as I said, it'll be fun when I gavel. Now is a good time to silence your cell phones. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the March 23rd, 2022 Henrietta Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Here.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. We'll begin the evening with a silent prayer followed by a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're gonna go slightly out of order of the normal routine. And we're gonna start with a town board resolution. Recognize the 2022 Youth Hall of Fame recipients or inductees. I can't move without this thing popping. Fellow board members, I have resolution 7-125, 2022 to recognize the 2022 Youth Hall of Fame inductees.
Second.
Whereas the Henrietta Youth Board has selected 26 exceptional young people to be inducted into the into the year 2022 Youth Hall of Fame because of their special accomplishments, and
Whereas these individuals have made significant contributions to the Henrietta community and/or have made a great personal achievement, and
Whereas the Henrietta Town Board hereby recognizes the contributions and achievements of these young people.
Therefore be it resolved that Samuel Bawden, Carter Beata, Clara Burley, Kayla Dengler, and Sultanat Fatima,
Chris France, Allison Freeman, Brady Griffin, Megan Hogenkamp, Ryan Holohan, Zaria Johnson,
Serafina Kisselgoff, Ella Lewis, Carly Mayhew, Ariana McKnight, Biza Mercy Hazen, I'm sorry.
you got it, Mercy Hazen. Melina Moradi, Annabelle Reinwald, Satana Satish Kumar, Skylar Schultz, Alaya Sims,
Jenna Swanson, Farrelly Tumani, Siangi, Neutron, Maxwell Worden, and Toby Wright.
are congratulated by the town board for their induction into the year 2022 Youth Hall of Fame and will be recognized for their positive influence on the quality of life in our community. I'll open up by saying congratulations to all the students, and I know how much pride the parents must be feeling, because if you missed it, one of the names on the list was actually my son, who I still don't know who nominated him. But I've got to tell you, when it came in, it was quite a lovely surprise, and it was great to see the look of pride on our son's face when he received the letter. So you know, again, it's amazing what some of these kids do. And, you know, they join a select group, just 26 members each year. And they will, for the next year, once they've actually been inducted, their pictures will be on the wall in town hall. I had told my son, make sure you take a good photograph since I will have to see it going into work every single day. And then their name that, you know, also gets engraved on the plaque, and that hangs at town hall for a year. And then when it's completely filled, it moves to the recreation center. So I'll open it up for other comments from the board.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that sentiment also. Proud to say that I got a chance to teach 11 of the inductees last year at the high school. And to say that they survived last school year and really thrived is something else. I mean, to be in person once a week, many of these students actually were online students for the entire year. And I think it's really an accomplishment what they did academically last year. And again, how much they've continued to contribute to the school community throughout their time at Rush Henrietta.
I think that's one of the impressive things with this award to me is it's not only academics, it's contributions to the community. And each of them, I think I know about 5 of them, and they all contribute differently to the community. And I love this award because it recognizes the whole person. And I just think it's such an amazing award and such a great contribution. And we just have some wonderful young people in this community.
This is always a very exciting time of year to, and I love the town for doing this, and thank you to Anita and all of those that work so hard to honor, identify, honor, and recognize these young people. I know they go out of their way to identify kids who maybe are a little quieter and go about doing their service and their work, not looking for recognition. And I'm so proud of all of these kids and everything that they've done and who they are. And so excited to see where they're going for the next steps in their lives.
As a former member of the Henrietta Youth Board and the County Youth Board, I was pleased to be on the selection committee for several years. And I want you to know, people don't realize that the selection of these young people in our community, and it's not just the people that go to Rush Henrietta schools, it's anyone who resides in our community, are selected mostly on them overcoming some negative obstacle in their life. And some of them very serious. And it's not geared towards the salutatorian, the valedictorian, the captain of the football team, or an athlete. It's really geared towards these young people who have gone out of their way to make a difference in Henrietta. And a lot of them, one of the biggest criteria, I should say, is volunteerism. Every one of these kids, no matter what they're dealing with, have volunteered in our community a significant amount of time. So it's not a who's who, it's people who really have dealt with a lot of difficult things and have given back to our community at such a young age. It's really, really nice to go to that ceremony and see the induction, because when they read their resumes, you go, holy mackerel. So good thing.
Anybody in the audience wish to comment or add anything? Nita, I don't know if you would like to say anything.
No, I just want to say congratulations. This is a wonderful group of.
I'm sorry, could we get Anita on the microphone so we can hear her? Sorry, Anita.
It's all right, you put me on the spot, but I just want to say this is a remarkable group of youth. Each year I say that, but they truly are remarkable, and we are so lucky to have them be inducted this year. And I know with them going forth as leaders in the future, our future is brighter with them. So we are very lucky to have them. Congratulations to all of them.
Awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then hearing no further comment, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Thank you again and congratulations. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the preceding meeting?
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 9th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. First up, we have special use permit application number 2022-005, West Her Automotive Group to utilize the property at 4635 West Henrietta Road as overflow parking. Do we have a representative from West Her here? Or online?
Yeah, this is Jim Malcolm, the Director of Facilities for West Her.
Hey, Jim. It looks like you guys have been making good progress in taking the old Vista Hotel down.
Yes, we're halfway through abatement at this point in time, and some of the roof started coming off this week. So our plan is by mid-April to have it completely demolished.
Sounds good. I certainly will not miss that building, especially not after the fire that occurred a year ago. And our understanding is that eventually you will complete plans for a car dealership and apply for a special use permit for that.
Yes, correct.
Are you planning to store cars there prior to the completion of the demolition work?
You're talking at the hotel that's under demolition currently?
Yeah.
Yes, so no, not until there's really nowhere on site we could, and we actually would like to go right into some site work and developing future use, but no, we would not be storing any cars there until the property is developed properly.
And this one now, is the one for the special use permit now, is this the one that's across the street that was the hotel that burned down when it was going to be converted to I think it was being converted to a nursing home?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So you're working on both of them. I just got the two of them conflated. Okay, so this one currently is the empty lot then? Or is it an existing hotel? I'm looking.
No, it's a slab of concrete with some paving around it right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. It shows it as it still shows it as a footprint of the building, and on the image, it looks like a footprint of the building.
Yeah.
It actually looks like that today. There's the concrete pad and the foundations are still in place.
Gotcha. And then you would be putting a dealership here as well?
Yeah, so our plan is to develop this in the future as well. We're under contract to purchase it. And we should be closing on that in the next month or so. In the meantime, because it is already paved and we have an opportunity to use that parking, as everybody's aware, we've got our BMW dealership under construction right now, and that site's getting extremely tight. We won't be able to use the hotel site across the street for quite some time for additional parking. So this would be a good opportunity for us to offload here, as well as opportunity to even take some delivery of vehicles up here, which would be a big benefit to us.
And from the looks of it, you had a decent path to bring the car carrier trucks into the parking lot so you can offload within the site?
Correct.
Okay, because one of the things that has happened occasionally is some of those trucks try to unload in the middle of West Henrietta Road, which obviously is a dangerous situation, and we would not take kindly to seeing that, and that could result in code violations.
Yes.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our BMW approval required some signage down there, which now that we've got the snow melted, we'll be able to get that up and in place so that that will reinforce the drivers not to unload in the street.
Great, thank you. Questions from other members of the board?
Yeah, so what exactly is it that you're, I know that you want to store vehicles here. Are you going to be doing something with the concrete pad there?
At this point in time, our plans are just to clean up the site, remove any debris, and make it a safe environment. We do have a couple applications into various OEMs or brands to build a dealership at this location. We're in the midst of that, so I don't have news to say, hey, we're going to build something here right now, but I'm hoping in the near future, one of the OEMs likes the site and wants the opportunity, we'll be building a dealership there.
Gotcha. And so you're going to be using the parking spaces that are already there for vehicle storage?
Correct.
Gotcha. And so there's not going to be any sales that are going to be taking place there at this time?
Correct.
Yeah, so they, in other words, obviously, if they'd gotten the dealership license, they could have parked the cars there, but because, as he was stating, it's far enough out in the future and they need the space now because of the
Right.
other construction, they decided to do this effectively temporary solution.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Other board members? Sorry,
Don't move.
trying not to. I know, no, as I moved my arms. Any other questions? Anything from the audience?
Hello, my name's Lisa Smith and I'm one of the residents that sits directly behind the old hotel. Used to be the Country Inn and Suites. So I have a couple questions. Is the plan on a 1 of 2 years or is it 1 to 5 years to have a potential dealership there?
If it was our choice, it would be this year. Not always in our control, so it really depends upon the brands, but my hope would be in the next 2 to 3 years that we would be under construction for a new dealership.
Okay. Personally, I don't have an issue with something going on that site because right now it's a horrible looking eyesore. We've sent notes to Bill a couple of times. He's been gracious enough to have the back of that berm mowed. But the property line, and actually it doesn't necessarily call out on that document that you showed. Your property comes down the backside of that berm is what my understanding is and based upon the lot maps that I have. And we've actually had issues with prior owners, the Country Inn and Suites, because we've been there for over 20 years now. And we'd like to actually get somebody that helps take care of the backside so that we don't have to look at a nonsense all the time and also mow a lawn that goes up the berm, and we have trees that are basically overgrown. They're basically coming up through our yards, and it's just absolutely horrible. And so my question and the reason why I came here tonight is, what's either the town going to do to help us, or what will West Herd do that basically says that you're a good neighbor for the people that have to live behind you? So that's some of my questions tonight.
I will let West Her answer first before we chime in, because I'd rather they volunteer than we ask. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, so once we own the property, we'll absolutely be maintaining it and cutting the grass there on a regular basis. We have internal staff that does that. And they rotate from location to location. So I was just trying to look up what our closing date is, but I want to say it's in June. So as soon as we do take ownership, we will. I can reach out to the current property owner and ask them to make sure that in the meantime that is taken care of.
Great, thank you. One of the questions I have on that for the neighbor is the berm currently sufficient, do you think, to block headlights? Or do you think going forward, they might have to do some additional barrier work, screening work? Just because that way he can fold them into their plans now as they start to put this thing together?
What I would recommend is there's some evergreens that are there. Honestly, they're in bad shape. So if something could be looked at to make that a little bit better from an aesthetics perspective, I think it would help. Fence line, I'm not looking for some cost like that. I mean,
Right.
like I said, somebody to maintain the property, see something good become of it, which would be great because we had a hotel behind us for 20 some odd years. They didn't bother us. I think having somebody there would also deter some of the kids from hanging out in that back row. And while things are legal today, that doesn't mean I want to smell it all the time when I'm out in my backyard for a summer afternoon. So, hopefully that in itself will bring improvement for the area. But I would be more than happy to walk the property line and show them, and I'm still happy to cut the grass, so it looks as nice to me on my side of the berm as what I would want it to. But there's some things, like I said, with the trees that something needs to happen because it's not good, it's not right, and it's time for it to be changed. So that's why I came tonight. And I'll answer any other questions you have for me.
Sure. So one of the things I will say is that if you want to provide any of this feedback via email,
Yep.
you can send it to supervisor@henrietta.org.
Yep.
And I'll make sure it also gets to the planning board,
Mhm.
because when they do come in with the site plan for the dealership, that's where it's going to be.
Okay,
They will still have to come in for a special use permit here, but the development of the site plan is really the planning board's.
okay,
So I'd be happy to give it to them, and they could also share it with West Her, so that, again, if they know that stuff up front, it's a lot easier to design those things into the site plans. So,
okay, that's fine.
I was also going to mention, if and when it comes to the planning board, it would be important for you to attend that because the planning board is very sensitive to neighbors, especially residential, with respect to light spillage, sound border, buffering and all that kind of thing. They're very good about that. So if you share your thoughts with them, and Steve will probably already do that in writing, it would be well worth your time to come to the planning board meeting when the application comes up.
How will I know about that?
so one of the things you can do is, if you go to our website and under the how do I button
Yep,
at the
yep,
top,
yep.
there's a thing that says email notifications. You can go there and there is a legal notices checkbox.
Okay,
If you provide your email, you'll get notification of, now, not just this one, you'll get for any of them.
Yep.
But you could, it's a good way to know what stuff is coming up in front of the various boards for public hearings.
okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna chime in. There is a dedicated one to planning board as well, if you want to get a little less stuff.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I get a lot of emails. Okay, anything
Any other
else?
questions for?
I do have a question for West Her. Given that there is an issue with young people hanging out back there, is there any plans for any security cameras or anything to monitor the vehicles?
Yeah, so there is existing site lighting that's on site today. We would like to energize that again. There's still a power transformer, so hopefully we can work with the electrical company and get that activated and be able to have those lights on again. If we can put some sort of wireless, we won't have our data network there. So we'll have to see what we can do. We may put up a couple cameras if there becomes an issue.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I understand we have a comment online.
Well, this is an internal comment, I believe, from Craig Eckert. Craig, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Craig Eckert. I'm in and out of cell reception, so hopefully you can hear me.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make the comment, sir, that we've been successful with communicating with the Fairfield on getting some attention to that berm coming up here this spring.
Good. Okay, so that's the same one. That's the same area that we're, okay, great. I knew
Yeah,
you
if you
were,
recall from that communication, that's we were communicating with the Fairfield and trying to get some maintenance to that, let those evergreens thrive a little bit better.
and Fairfield's the next site south of this, the dealership, correct?
Roger that.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Then hearing none, can I get a motion regarding special use permit application number 2022-005 for West Her Automotive Group to utilize a property at 4635 West Henrietta Road as overflow parking?
Mr. Supervisor, that's resolution 7-127.
Oh, we got it down lower. Okay,
Application.
never mind.
Okay, that's,
Oh, because it has,
It's negative there.
yeah, it has a negative. Okay, never mind.
okay. Okay, I
So
see.
then
So
that-
we have to issue a negative declaration for
Correct.
seeker
Yeah.
before we issue the,
Correct. So some of the special use permits do and don't require seeker.
gotcha.
So if they do require seeker, we typically do them later. So I'm going to close the public hearing then for special use permit application number 2022-005 West Her Automotive Group to utilize a property at 4635 West Henrietta Road as overflow parking. Next up, we have a public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to allow adult use cannabis retail dispensary in limited portions of the B1 district.
Second.
Do we have, so I'll just do a little bit of introduction. We reopened the public hearing because we modified the law. We had previously closed the public hearing. But basically, we modified the law to allow the town board to reduce the distances. So the town had wanted a greater distance from churches and schools and parks and facilities that are geared towards children, such as Altitude Trampoline Center or the Clubhouse Fun Center. And so the question was then if circumstances are such that it makes sense for that distance to be reduced, do they have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to getting the special use permit, or do we treat it like we do with the height where they can do it in one? I mean, they can do it at the town board. And so we decided to do it at the town board. Now, obviously, we can't, in the way it's written is we can't reduce it less than the requirements by the state. You know, that way we can, originally it was written that we could do that with respect to if there was a significant physical barrier between the dispensary and the premises of that other, you know, I'll call it the protected premises. We've now added, we've gotten rid of it, that it's a requirement of that, that there be a significant barrier. However, we do have that as one of the things that we would look at as part of the special use permit process. With that said, does anybody have any comments on the law as written? Anything online? Then hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing to amend the Henrietta zoning code to allow adult use cannabis retail dispensary in limited portions of the B1 district. Next up, we have public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the town code to address split zoning. So today, when a zoning district splits a parcel so that that parcel exists in multiple zoning districts, the code doesn't exactly address how to deal with that. The default, if you will, is that if let's say my parcel is part commercial and part residential, if I want to build something residential use, it has to be totally within the portion of the parcel that is zoned residential. If I want to do something commercial, it has to be totally within the portion of the parcel zoned commercial. I can't have the building spill out into the other area, or anything I have there cannot be inconsistent with the district with which it's contained. That creates problems for some of these parcels. In fact, like we have one parcel the former BJ's lot where the property line bisects the building in two. And so, for instance, they want to use, they're doing storage there on the eastern end, but eventually that's going to want to expand potentially to the whole building. Well, the way it is today, we would essentially have to paint a stripe diagonally through the middle of the building and say, oh, your self-storage cannot cross this line. That seems kind of silly. So we had talked about the possibility of rezoning, but we were afraid that that would result in too much growth of the districts, and they were typically created for a reason in the areas they were in. And so we decided to do it that someone could apply for a special use permit to treat the whole parcel as one of the zones contained within. There are restrictions on that. It has to be a significant portion of the parcel, and that if there are restrictions or other zoning specifics attached to that district, we would look as to whether it makes sense to apply that to the entire parcel. We would make sure no one is trying to abuse this rule by subdividing the parcel in such a way to get to the percentages they want to get what I'll call a de facto rezone. We also deal with that somebody does something where they build this master parcel, get the whole thing rezoned, and then try to build what they want and then try to subdivide it and deal with it being a pre-existing non-conforming use. We try to address all of those issues to try to prevent abuse from it. And that's why we decided originally we were going to try to make it rules. There were just way too many possibilities that we couldn't cover. You'd never be able to follow the code if we try to get every possibility in there. And so in discussions with the town attorney, we ultimately decided to do it as a special use permit. That way we can apply common sense. The basics of how it's done are in there. And then it's up to the town board when reviewing these to deal with it in terms of make sure that no one is abusing it, or make sure we're applying the calculations properly, as well as what specifics make sense to carry over and which ones make sense not to carry over. So with all that said, does anybody have any comments, feedback that they would like to provide to the town board? And that can also be from the town board as well. Anything online? That one was Rick, not me. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the town code to address split zoning. Can I get my second resolution?
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 7-126, 2022 to authorize bills payable for March 10th, 2022 through today, March 23rd, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? As noted to the town board, there was a single large check amount. It's actually was money that was for 2021. It took a long time for the contractor to actually get us the bill for doing all of the sewer work last year. So hearing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-127, 2022 to issue a negative declaration and approve special use permit application number 2022-005 for West Hair Automotive Group to utilize the property at 4635 West Henrietta Road as a dealership vehicle storage lot for West Air Automotive Group.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Okay, just to be clear, so we're issuing a negative declaration for seeker and doing the special permit in one resolution?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any questions regarding the seeker?
No questions regarding the seeker. Do we need to attach any stipulations as
Yeah.
per what was brought up with from the residents?
I don't know that we need to do that for here. If the representative from West Her is here, I will note that the quality of the work they do to maintain that will certainly play into account when we look at converting this special use permit to a special use permit as a dealership. So it would behoove them to be a good neighbor, but
Yes.
you know, like I said, I'm not particularly worried about that, but that's certainly something that, yes, we would make sure they understand that. Is the representative still on?
Jim popped off. This is Joshua Saxon with Pastor Associates, but I'll make sure he knows that's a stipulation of the approval.
Thank you.
Great.
It does have the other, you know, the specific conditions which with regards to the storage and the limitations, so. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-128, 2022, to call for a public hearing on a local law to update the town code with respect to air-supported domes.
Second.
So again, the current code is written such with 1 mile setbacks from any essentially resident, including apartments, 5 miles from any other dome. You pretty much, there's pretty much nowhere in town where you could actually build a dome today. Now, there might be some who remember the Golden Bear Golf Dome that they're happy about that, but you know, again, that's not proper for zoning to basically write your zoning in such a way that the stuff can't exist anywhere. So we chose more realistic numbers. There still has the similar limitations. One of the things, because for many, many years, multifamily apartments could be in the middle of industrial districts next to industrial uses. We didn't think it was appropriate to put the large setback from multifamily apartments, but we did keep a good size setback in there, 1,000 feet from any single family residence. So any questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-129, 2022, to call for a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend the town code at chapter 295 to correct references to special use permits.
Second. So again, our code was inconsistent in language, and we're going to clean that up. There is one section of code that will need significant updating. This particular section is more just to take care of make the language uniform throughout the code. We're going to clean up the section 192, which is peddlers, solicitors, and vendors, as well as a portion of the zoning code with respect to food trucks. Again, they are inconsistent in their use of the terms license and permit. And so we're going to clean that up, but we're going to do that under a separate law. For now, we're going to get this one consistent, and then Don and I will work on the wording for the other law, and we'll essentially have a resolution at the next meeting calling for yet another public hearing for that law. So again, we were going to try to do it all under one, but as we then cracked open that section and discovered the connection to the portion on the food truck, we realized there's no way we're going to get it done in time for this one. So decided to keep it simple. Questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 7-130, 2022 to declare intent to be lead agency for seeker review of the proposed plus or minus 62 unit multifamily housing known as South Ridge Landing, located on the northeast corner of East Henrietta Road and Calkins Road.
Second.
So some folks in the community have been reaching out to various board members asking about this particular project. It's in its very early stages. But they're looking at, there is a parcel directly behind CVS and other there's it's CVS and a daycare and then an empty commercial parcel, as well as I think there's a drive-through ATM parcel.
Tim Hortons too.
Is it behind Tim Hortons as well? Okay. So there is they're looking to put in a 3-story multifamily housing. One of the reasons for that location, this is, they need to be on a bus loop. They prefer it being an area where there are amenities within walking distance, which obviously with the drugstores and the Wegmans, Starbucks, Family Dollar, there's a lot of, it's, you know, it is a good pedestrian friendly location. You know, one of the things that the town has been looking at significantly is what can we do to make sure there is adequate buffer between the existing houses to the east and somewhat to the north from this development. And so we've been discussing with the developer as to how they could potentially modify their application to minimize the impact, as well as if you're not familiar with the area, there is significant slopes to from high grounds in the west to low grounds in the east, and that can cause some drainage issues for the people to the east. So there was an existing drainage facility, stormwater facility, but it's not from what we understand, it's not been adequate lately. It's possible just because it's not been properly maintained. But this provides an opportunity to improve that. The other thing we're doing is we're reaching out to CVS to see if they can share a driveway for 2 purposes. One, that minimizes the driveway entrances onto Calkins Road. But it also moves the driveway further away from those homes, allowing that first 100+ feet to stay intact as it is today. And even if there's any areas where trees have died or there's additional buffer foliage needed, we'd be able to add it there. Whereas obviously if a road had to be on that portion, that would reduce the amount of screening that could be there. So this is all things that we'll be looking at. It starts with a special use permit and then it would go to the planning board. But obviously we're going to take the lead on seeker. Any questions, comments?
When do you anticipate a public hearing for that?
Becky, when is the, which meeting?
That's the April 12th special use permit,
Thank you.
which is a Tuesday. I just want to say for the record.
for South Ridge is April 12th? Because that's before seeker's done.
Let me verify in case I've misspoken. Hang on just a minute.
I think it's the April 12th, I think, is for the public hearing for the split zoning. But I think Southridge Landing should be,
No, it's on April 12th. That's why actually you got the April 12th
yeah, no, I
town board
remember.
information.
Right. We wanted to have the hearing because of the, yeah, thank you. It just reminded me. So we'd asked them to get the application in sooner so that we could have a hearing, public hearing. We probably will not close it then, but we'll have the public hearing, get all the feedback, allow them to digest what the residents nearby want to see changed, give them an opportunity to change it, and then come back. And it's the second meeting, which is in April is when the seeker 30-day clock will have expired. So that's what it was. Does that sound correct?
That sounds correct to me if you're speaking to me.
Yes. Okay, voice it from the sky.
Yeah, wizard behind the curtain.
That's right.
She who must be obeyed.
Any other questions, comments? Do we have representatives from Southridge Landing here? Do you want to speak regarding this a little bit, just so get a little bit, if there's any information, you don't have to? Oh, I didn't know if you had nodded yes or not. No, you're for a different one. Okay. Okay.
I don't think anyone's on now from the developer, but this is Joshua Sachs again, civil engineer at Pass Row. And I was the one that put in the special use permit. And I think you mentioned it pretty well, is, pursuing all the options. I will say there is an existing landscape buffer already along that eastern property line. It's a 50-foot buffer. So there's at least that 50-foot buffer in addition to whatever comes out of any screening that we will have to the residents to the east. So they'll hopefully put some people at ease that it's not going to be right up in their backyards. There's already an existing something in place that will restrict the development on the eastern side.
Right. And I did share with the town board, I'd received a note from someone in your group about that you were able to track down the CVS real estate individual and have reached out to them. So.
Yep. I don't believe we've heard back from them yet, but we're definitely pursuing that now.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
I'm getting there.
It's a long way down.
Yeah, it's a little ways down there. Okay. Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 7-131, 2022 to issue a seeker conditional negative declaration for the Lehigh Ridge project located at the southern ends of Authors Avenue and Nevins Road.
Seconded.
Okay, so now this one, I do know we have representatives here. So for those, this is my first conditional negative declaration. Can be done on unlisted items. It's essentially a little bit, it's a shorter process than doing a POS deck, an EIS, and going through the whole stuff. But basically what it says is that we've identified, all of the conditions, and or all of the potential adverse impacts. And there is one, in this case, there is one that is conditioned upon, it has to do with the traffic light, New York State DOT. There is a disagreement between the town and the state DOT with regards to the light. Ultimately, they are the deciding authority because it's their road. But I do have an appointment with Christopher Reeve, who is the new acting director for Region 4. He's new, as I said, so he's reviewing all the old documentation. State Senator Patrick Gallivan has been very involved in this. Both he and State Assembly Member Harry Bronson agree with me that the message, so to give a quick recap, is basically we said, we'd like a light there. Well, you have to meet the warrants. So the developer did a traffic impact study that showed it met the warrants. They said, well, that only meets the warrants if the average speed is 40 something miles per hour and the posted speed limit is 35. So we put out radar devices to measure the average speed, and when you include the first standard deviation, you meet that threshold. So they said, okay, you do meet the warrants because of the speed, but you meet them just barely. And then, they showed how they met a bunch of them, and then they said, well, warrants aren't the only thing. There's only been 6 accidents. So, we don't think a light should go in. And so as I wrote in my letter to the director, I said, so what you're basically saying to us is some kids have to die before you'll put a light in? Don't you think you'd rather, I don't know, keep those kids alive? And again, both our state assembly member and our state senator are very much on board with that. Even to the point where there might be legislation that says, when a school entrance is involved, that you only have to meet, for instance, 90% of the warrants, and more importantly, you do not need to meet the accident requirements. I'm hoping that New York State DOT will just do it on their own, but if not, then I'm hoping that our legislators will be able to get that passed and change the rules. Either way, I'm going to continue to fight for this. I think the existing conditions are such that a light would be beneficial. As it is today, the existing conditions do not quite meet the warrants. When you add the new traffic, they do. So that is the condition, that particular mitigation will not happen until we've met those warrants, which again doesn't happen until we're closer to full build out. The other impacts, they will be mitigating up front. So that's essentially the difference between a straight negative deck and a conditional negative deck. Do I have that right, Don?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Call it a layman's version of seeker, although I don't know if I'm exactly a true layman anymore, but I am not a seeker attorney. How's that?
That works.
Okay, so questions, comments. Again, we have representatives from the developer himself, as well as representatives from the engineering firm supporting that. So do we have questions, comments? One of the things for note of clarification, in the requirements, as you saw, we are going to require that you build the sidewalk and the crosswalks. The town recognizes that that's a significant impact because it's a long stretch of sidewalk. And so I've reached out to our DPW as to whether they'd be able to do some of the prep work, and our both the DPW for the sidewalk and the highway for the crosswalks. And they would be able to, but it made it clear that there will be no taxpayer expense in terms of, any material costs if an outside folk is needed, or if in order to do the work, they would have to put in overtime. Those, I'll call them out-of-pocket costs, would have to be picked up by the developer. But, again, we recognize that in order to properly mitigate this, we've asked a lot of the developer. And we think it's beneficial for the town to get that sidewalk in. That sidewalk probably should have been there from the get-go when that development was first built. And so we recognize that and are willing to help, but not at the cost to the other taxpayers. But again, they should have the resources and capability to do some of the preparatory work. Is that acceptable and understanding?
Yes.
Bruce Howlett said yes from the audience for the record. Any other questions, comments?
So Authors Avenue already has a sidewalk going all the way up because the school is located right there.
Correct. I think it goes just past Wallman.
It's on the east side.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I believe, I'm not sure if, did you just mention putting in the raised platform crossings
Correct.
on
So-
Authors Avenue?
Yes. So the one at, again, I think it's at Wallman and Authors.
Mhm.
That one is a definite that I think that one absolutely needs to be in. I would like the opinion of the planning board and, you know, some additional work. There was discussion at the public hearing of a second one to the north of the school district. The way we worded it is it's a minimum of one, maximum of two, but I want the planning board to weigh in on that. That they are more experienced with that type of stuff than we are. But to me, there's no question the one south of the school needs to be there because of the long stretch coming under the power line, transmission lines. There's a long straightaway where people could potentially pick up speed. North of the school, the road twists and turns. And so there's already traffic calming measures there. But again, if the planning board and our traffic consultant feels that it would be beneficial to put one to the north of the school district on Authors, then that would be required as well.
Right, and do we, I'm assuming we currently have school crossing guards placed there. Do we know where the most common crossings are for
There's crossing guards, yes, at Authors and Lehigh.
on Lehigh?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Always, yeah.
And that's one of the issues is that is an uncontrolled intersection.
yeah,
And so we have had issues today with people not paying attention or being too impatient and driving through the crosswalk, even when the crossing guard is out there trying to stop traffic.
yeah.
And so a traffic light would help tremendously in that regard.
Yes, and that's also the crossing to where people cross in order to get up to the trail up there as well.
So there's two different ones. So directly across from Authors is Green Clover Lane, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to get to the Lehigh Valley Trail, that is over at Nevins.
Nevins,
Yep.
right. But I mean, a signalized crossing even at Authors would assist in that area.
Correct.
For people coming across that neighborhood.
It would create
going up in
gaps.
that- yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mhm. And I saw on the traffic impact study that that there was a count done of children walking to school. Do we know when that traffic impact study happened? Was it during the COVID shutdown? Children
Go
walking to
ahead.
school?
Coming up, Peter.
So Peter Vars from, oh, geez, okay.
Yeah, there's.
They're all
Yeah,
over. I don't know
BME
what's going on
Associates.
today.
So the traffic study was done in November, December of 2021. So in the last 5 or 6 months is
Okay.
when it was done. And they also followed guidance. There was 2 things they were able to do. One is they understood the school occupancy. They found that information out from the district. And also there is guidance from the New York State DOT and the Institute of Transportation Engineers. They actually have a COVID factor based on what the occupancy of the school is. So that was all factored in, and it was vetted by the town's traffic consultant and by New York State DOT. Okay.
And I will point out the town traffic consultant agrees more with the developer than they do
Yes.
with the New York State DOT. They agree,
Yes.
you know, they agree that the stuff they're putting in helps with the situation, as well as that there should be a light there, again, even under existing conditions.
Yes, I think the traffic impact study has been, yeah, it was very thorough. I was just curious about that particular point. I guess the other part that I was curious about as well is just that it is just those two roads, and it is a fairly major development. Are we confident that those two arteries will be able to handle the amount of traffic that's coming in without any issues?
Again, our consultant does believe that. If you look at the original plans for this development, there were to be houses on there. Granted, they added additional parcels, so it's more houses than in the original plan. But again, you're looking at, if you look at the original plan, full build out versus the full build out with this, you're probably looking at about maybe a 20% difference, if even that.
Okay.
This will add a significant amount to the existing, but again, about half of that was already intended to be there. So I would say, like I said, about 20 to 25% this would add over what the original plans when they built the whole thing. I will note that one of the other things that they did agree to do is to build a temporary construction entrance, so we don't have construction vehicles going down either of the two neighborhood streets, which is a huge benefit from a safety standpoint. And obviously, again, that's going to represent a good chunk of change to the developer, but he was willing to do that because agrees that those roads are not good for construction vehicles.
Great.
Is that temporary on the Hosmer property?
No, it is
No.
temporary on the Aardvark Rugby Club
Oh, okay,
property.
Okay.
And so they made a deal with them. Basically, they're putting down millings. So we've
I
been
remember.
providing the millings,
I remember now.
and they'll be able to use that for their bleachers after the fact.
I remember that. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
And I'm trying to remember, if I recall correctly, there was some walking trails that were there. Was there a connection to the Lehigh Valley Trail as well? Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna help reroute the Lehigh Valley Trail so it no longer walks down Nevins Road. We're going to do the portion that was always our plan to do working with Hosmer to do the portion through the Hosmer property, and they're gonna carry it from there through to the underpass, as well as provide connections from the sidewalk network. So their sidewalk network is going to connect to the existing sidewalk. Well, it's sidewalk, the other one they're putting in. So the Nevins Road and Author sidewalks will connect. People will be able to walk south from their house through this new neighborhood, get to the Lehigh Valley Trail. Or again, they could go out to Lehigh Station Road, go over to the Hosmer property and go in from there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody on the public or online? Okay, then hearing none. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So again, thank you, Bruce, for your willingness to work with this to mitigate all the issues. I've heard from a number of residents who live there who basically say, obviously, we'd prefer it stay empty, but that this has addressed their concerns. And you've addressed all their concerns in an adequate manner, and some are actually excited about the arrival of the sidewalks on Nevins. So again,
Well,
thank you.
For all your work on it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I do have a hand raised from Kevin Yost.
Okay. Kevin? Is
Let's
he
see,
gonna chime in or no?
let's see, I've tried to. I need consent from the other side. I can't force to unmute. Kevin?
Yes.
Oh, there
This
we
is-
go. There we go.
It's, this development is going to be where the, what was going to be the Belfry Golf Course on the north side of the thruway portion. It never came to be because the developer unfortunately passed away.
That is correct. There was the entrance road and portion of that, I believe, was already sold to Hosmer previously. This is the remaining, there's golf course there. Oh, the one other thing I will mention too, in terms of one of the other things they're gonna mitigate, a couple things are gonna mitigate. They're gonna do the grading in such a way to draw the water runoff away from the existing houses and bring it over to the wetlands to the west. And then they are also going to construct berms, hedgerows, trees to help reduce the sound effect from the throughway impact on the neighbors. So that's going to be, again, part of their design of the neighborhood. But okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa?
We ready?
Yep.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-132, 2022, to commit to the town's matching funds for the Canal Way Grant Program for engineering design work.
Second.
Actually, Peter, who just left, also is their firm is got us the quote to do the design work. And so these projects were identified as part of the LWRP. It's in conjunction with the JCC. They would actually provide the road through. They'd eventually build a second road, assuming they can get approval from Brighton to have a curb cut onto, I think that's Westfall Road. And their plan, you see it talks about private future development there. Their plan is to build a retirement community there. But they're willing to provide this portion of the property to the town to put the park there. So it would basically benefit the town, the people on the canals, but obviously also would be nice amenities nearby for that retirement community. So it's kind of one of these win-win. But when you go after any of these grants, the first thing you have to do is get an engineering study. So the Canal Way grants will get that study done so that down the road, we can go after the funding from the LWRP and say, you know, we want to do this project or this project. And obviously, when we're ready to do that, it would take a town board action to initiate it, but we'll have some of the preliminary design plans so that we'd be able to have cost estimates for those and go after the funding. Any questions on that?
No, I think that would be a great opportunity for our community to have access to direct access through Henrietta to the canal.
Agreed. Hearing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-133, 2022, to authorize the purchase of vehicles for the Public Works Department.
Seconded.
Any further comment?
Do we cross our fingers for this one?
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully by the time we've approved here, those vehicles will not have disappeared.
Mhm.
Any further comment? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-134, 2022, to authorize the purchase of a flex wing mower.
Second. Any questions?
No, but I prefer calling it the Rhino.
Yes, we are purchasing a Rhino.
Rhino Flex.
Have it walk around and I don't know if they,
Eat all
Graze
the
on
grass,
grass,
so that
yeah.
would be great.
any further comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 7-135, 2022 to authorize the purchase of an RX 130 crawler QCD. Or if you'll humor me, hello, Earth creatures, I'd like to authorize the purchase of an RX 130 crawler QCD. That Earth creature has stolen my space modulator. That's just, it's all right. That's what this code name reminded me of.
Second.
Any comments besides on my not so great Marvin the Martian imitation? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. I will note that I like when I can get our town clerk on the verge of laughing as she's calling the roll.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 7-136, 2022 to authorize the advertisement of bids for the year 2022 creek cutting.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Look at that.
That one wasn't me.
It was me.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-137, 2022 to award the Chiltern Road Drainage Improvement Project bid to Ransco Pipeline, Inc.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-138, 2022 to appoint Habiba Jones to the Henrietta Ad Hoc Diversity Committee.
Seconded.
Congratulations, Habiba. I think you're going to be a great addition.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Habiba.
And thank you
Thank
for
you for joining us.
volunteering.
Yep.
Mhm.
Any further comment? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-139, 2022 to authorize disposition of town records per LGS-1 schedule and LGRMIF grant project.
Second. Any discussion?
That's a big project.
That was a very big project. Hearing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 7-140, 2022 to declare items surplus material from the sidewalk department.
Second.
So we apologize, this wasn't on the agenda at the workshop, but when the finance director, Linda Salpini, was reviewing stuff, she realized we had never So basically, what had happened is we had purchased the previous piece of equipment. It's less expensive. We hoped it could do the job. It turns out it couldn't do the job. So we then approved the new Bobcat track loader to do the work. And the company agreed to this as a trade-in, but in order to trade it in, we have to take it off our inventory first. So she caught that, and that's what this resolution takes care of.
Okay, so we are returning the Bobcat articulated loader and we're getting the Bobcat
Track loader.
track loader.
You
Gotcha.
got it.
Okay,
Yeah, so
So that number is a turn-in value that.
that is the trade-in value, and it's pretty darn close to the original purchase value. So because we didn't use it a whole lot, they came and inspected it, saw it was in, our maintenance mechanic does a really good job of keeping our equipment in top-notch order.
Good. That was
That
you.
one was me. And so they gave us a really good trade-in value for it.
great.
Any further comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
All right,
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 7-141, 2022 to hire personnel and make the attached change.
Seconded.
any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye,
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 7-142, 2022. To issue a negative declaration and adopt local law number 7 of 2022 to allow adult use cannabis retail dispensaries in limited portions of the commercial B1 district.
Second.
any further discussion beyond what we talked about at the public hearing?
I appreciate the attention to detail in this. I recognize that's a sensitive issue and we want to make sure that we encourage appropriate businesses while protecting the youth and families in their community.
Agreed. Any further comments? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions. Do we have any additional discussion items or comments from the public?
Oops, yes, we do have Kevin Yost with a hand raised.
Kevin?
Make sure I'm, okay, I guess I'm not muted this time. I have ideas regarding sign ordinance when it comes to business signs. A lot of times signs are still lit after a business goes out of business, and of course that they're on the building long after a business goes out of business. I think there should be a code that the lights be turned off on the signs as soon as they go out of business, and then they'd be fined after 30 days. It progresses after every 30-day period, and that the signs be taken down after within a 90-day time frame after a business goes out of business. Like, for example, Computer City where Planet Fitness is now, that sign was, those signs were there for a long time, and Beautiful Mess was there for a long time, and the tanning bed next to Beers of the World, it's now Upstate Cannonball Recycling, that was there a long time. The corner of Jefferson and And J Scuddy Drive, the sign with BJ's Rainbow flag, and there it still has a sign of Gateway Company, and that's been out of business since early mid 2000s, and Marlin Amusement's been in that space ever since.
Okay,
And they should be fined after 90 days and a progressive over 90 days since.
so we were just talking about this today, that in the next, I don't know, sometime in the next month or two, that we're going to pull together a group of individuals to review all the sign codes, because the section on signs needs a lot of work. So what I will suggest is this, Kevin, if you could send, if you want to send any recommendations with that regards to me in an email, supervisor@henrietta.org, as well as if there's nothing beyond what you just provided today, we'll have that from the minutes. But if you want to provide feedback, we can bring that to that group. You know, it's probably going to include at a minimum, the director of building and fire prevention, the chairman of the zoning board of appeals, the town clerk who is handles all the applications with regards to signage, probably the individual at buildings and fire protection who handles the applications for signage, myself, and then at least one other town board member for that initial meeting. And then they would basically put together recommendations to bring to the town board. And from that, we would craft the new legislation. So now is a good time to get that feedback in. But I will just say, I would have no plans to act on what you said in a vacuum. We would do it as part of the overhaul of the entire section on town code of covering signage.
Yes, and that's how it should be, and I have no other recommendations beyond that.
Okay, so again, feel free to send them to me in an email, supervisor@henrietta.org.
Yes, I have to send you recommendations about the 4th of July and diversity aspect of it as well from last meeting.
Yep, appreciate that. Any other discussion items or comment from the public? Any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
I just wanted to share that I spoke with Supervisor Schultz. The Russian Henrietta Health and Safety Coalition is in the process of writing a 5-year grant for $125,000 a year to support education in concert with the town around education on the cannabis retail sales and any other health and safety issues that come up within our community. And one of the things that we're going to write into the grant is the possibility of the partnership with Monroe County Sheriff and having a sort of constable model for a certain number of hours per week. And we're going to write into that grant that we would be able to support overtime for that position through that grant on a special case-by-case basis. So I just wanted to share that with the rest of the board.
So again, that's, if you remember, last fall, we did the special attention detail. We did put funding in for one additional position in the Monroe County Sheriff, who would, their primary focus would be special items that need special attention in town. Today, you know, the sheriff do provide essentially policing for the town of Henrietta, but their priorities are set by the county. And so if we ask them to pay attention to, as we've done, and they've provided it when they can, you know, like attention to people running the crosswalks past the crossing guards. In fact, they arrested a couple or ticketed a couple people who did that. But what happens if they're on that call and something else comes in that's higher on the county priority list, they have to leave. The person who's on special attention detail could stay because R gets a priority. As we said, the only thing that really trumps it, if there's a active shooter, officer down, child being kidnapped, something of that magnitude, obviously that we'd say, go ahead, have our officer join that response as well. But if it's, your more typical petty larceny, that type of stuff that their current staff would stay there. This would be a position in addition to what they already have. And one of the things that they've made very clear, we've made very clear, is that when we add that position, they're not going to say, okay, we're going to shift some of our other officers around to have them work at other towns. No, this would be in addition to what they already provide for Henrietta. So, and it would be great that it would be great that could provide, some of the funding for that end, or for, overtime, because again, that's right now, it would be 40 hours a week.
I'd like to publicly thank Millie for covering for me at the Rush Henrietta School Board last night due to my surgery. And I also, the fire department, I'm due the next month's meeting. Our board meeting, I believe, is on the Tuesday night of the fire commissioners meeting. So I'll have to miss that, but my apologies. Thank you, Millie.
Yeah, my pleasure. There were a couple of interesting presentations at the school board last night on things like transportation and food, which, do not directly impact the operations of the town, but I think with rising gas prices and food prices, it is going to definitely impact any of the parents of kids in the district.
Yeah, in that regard, we did have a couple individuals reach out and ask whether we're doing another Food Link drive.
Mhm.
So I've reached out to Food Link to find out if they're still doing any of the mobile
Good.
distributions, in which case we would try to schedule one for Henrietta.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Looking forward to the state of the town address.
Yep. It's probably about 2/3 written. So that's what I've been working on this past week, and more on this coming week.
When is the Henrietta Happenings due out?
It is at went to the bindery today, so I'm expecting it to go to the post office hopefully tomorrow. If not, then
Okay.
Friday.
Super.
Great.
Thank you.
From the youth board, final details are being set for the Hall of Fame ceremony on April 3rd. They also have put together a welcome packet in a number of languages, and they're working with the school district to visit community areas with high population of English language learners. They're projecting that those visits are going to happen in May. Parks and Recreation is happy to announce that the MyRec software transition is completed. It's operational and it's working very smoothly. Recreation Department has funds available for scholarships for youth whose families may not otherwise be able to afford recreation programs. Upcoming events also include the Flashlight Easter egg hunt on Friday, April 8th from 7 to 9 at the Rec Center. That's for grades 6 through 9. The traditional Easter egg hunt is on Saturday, April 9th from 12 to 3 at Tinker Nature Park. And as I heard you talking about a little bit earlier, Lisa, the Grandma, Mommy, and Me Princess Tea Party on April 30th at the Rec Center. Recreation Department is looking for donations of teacups and saucers for that.
Great. I will note that the rec center is also there used to be that terrarium in the middle, and that never really worked out like it was originally designed. So in talking with the folks who come to the rec center, there were a lot of parents, who an older sibling was taking a class there, and they show up with their younger siblings and they need somewhere to be. And so they've cut a gap in that terrarium so that it's internal bench, so the kids can be inside. Now, as I said, it was noted on, it was Henrietta Highlights. It's not exactly a barrier. It's either a challenge for the kid to climb, or I'm going to slow them down, hopefully long enough for the parent to intercept. But it's going to provide a nice play area for the kids while they're waiting for their older siblings to finish up.
I
So
think they were climbing in there regardless of what was in there prior. I've seen multiple kids in there at different occasions.
I think you're right on that account.
My
That's really
grandson is
cute.
one of them.
Are you good, Joe? You want me to go?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. So the Sustainability Committee on April 14th at 6:30 at the Henrietta Public Library is doing a geothermal social. And it's a Heat Smart Monroe is doing a 30-minute talk on clean heating and cooling. And they're also discussing state rebates for residents and discussing AMPED for commercial building owners. So that's a great thing for you to come and listen to for 30 minutes. I mean, if you can get some rebates and save some money on your heating bills, what a great thing. So that's with that. Reminder, the Historical Site Committee, if you see some people taking photos of your property this weekend and you have a historical site home, they're doing that on Saturday. And the last thing I have is the library. They've got 3 events going on there. There is a 4-H program for teens ages 13 to 18 that they're doing. If you're interested in environmental justice, check the website. And Rochester Women in History, this sounds really interesting to me, on Monday, March 28th. It's a Zoom, and they're talking with Maya Rook from History Happy Hour, and they're discussing women in Rochester. It's going to include Susan B. Anthony, a talk on her, the Fox sisters, glimpses into supernatural stories, or the White Lady. So register on the library website for that. And they are also talking on March 31st. They're going to be discussing some new books that they're bringing into the library and some exciting different types of things they have with that. So registration is online. I think that's all I have. It is.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.